Welcome to NQAT Tactics Show with the usual crowd today. Darnish, Daniel, how's it going?
Good. Very good.
All good.
All right. Rock and roll. For those of you on the YouTube, you'll see that Darnish has got his massive DJ cans on. Have you out?
No, I wish I was, but it's not. I'm a bit worried about how much of the percentage of my life I just have headphones on now, like all the time walking around or in the kitchen or whatever. I don't know. Is it bad? Can you? But what happens? Yeah, but what happens to your ears? I take these in the shower.
I don't know. They've just been permanently glued to my head. That's all. I mean, no one ever sees me without them.
So. Can your hearing get affected by it?
True.
I don't know. Oh
yeah. If you blast it. Well, I tell you what was lad at the weekend. Daniel was at the game, the away end.
You weren't at the game.
Oh, you didn't make it. I thought you were going.
I was meant to be, but I wasn't. Yeah.
Car trouble?
No. A tedious story that I won't bother relaying. It's not interesting.
Well, that's a shame.
But you can still do your segue.
Well, I have already done it, and the away end was fantastic without Daniel. Maybe because it was without Daniel. Who knows? Has he got a booming voice? We're not sure. Also, a good United performance, 3-0. It'd be nice if we could play Leicester every week because they are properly rubbish, and I guess that probably confines them to relegation now. What did we see? So we're going to talk a little bit about Bruno and his role, a little bit about Aydan Heaven and just how seamlessly he's slotted into the team, saving us.
Down to injuring himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. No notes. You are manuing perfectly. And then we'll talk a little bit about a bit of Amorim-Ball, maybe hints of it. All right. So where should we start? Let's start with the latter. Amorim-Ball. Darnish, what did you see? Because it felt to me like we created chances and scored goals that looked very much like
we did. I think it's very apparent that Amorim-Ball looks good against number one teams that don't press for the full game, or number two teams that aren't very good at pressing for the full game, which is Leicester, Southampton, Ipswich, or anybody in the Europa League.
Leicester, yeah,
because those sides don't have the intensity or the physicality to do it for 90 minutes. So that's why you see some little patterns of Amorim-Ball emerge, and then spaces open up and attackers can exploit them, and then they score goals. I'm not going to take away from the fact that it's good that they're finding those spaces, and you have to pick up the bad teams regardless anyway. But it's why they look so good against Sociedad. It's why they look better against Leicester. The problem is still there, by the way. I tweeted it around about 22 minutes, 25 minutes. It's still there when it goes to a wide fullback or it goes to a wide centre-back. The wide fullback gets pressed, the inside midfielder gets pressed, the defender behind them gets pressed. All they do is go along. And luckily, Aydan Heaven was there for a double block. Otherwise, I think they would have conceded against Leicester. So it's a problem that it's still there. They need to figure out a solution to that.
There's an interesting data point I saw at the weekend that United make the fewest central attacks of any team in the league.
And that's not good because
most wide attacks.
On which point, if we add to that, it is, I think, a generally accepted axiom that the best teams build through the middle.
That's exactly what I was about to say. You need to find central space to make attacks. Point blank.
Arteta called Chelsea the best attacking side in the country. At the weekend, they make the most attacks of any Premier League side through the centre. I don't know whether those two things are true.
Excuse me, I need to interrupt there because I had to watch that game for work, and it was fucking wank. And not only that, I could not believe what I was seeing. I literally said this to my uncle this morning. My uncle's a Chelsea fan, has a season ticket. And I said, I could not believe that Chelsea turned up at Arsenal and played like they played, which was basically attempting to do nothing, even when they were behind. And then he went on television afterwards and said that they played well. I couldn't believe it. So I said this to my uncle, and he said this: I'm not enjoying Maresca ball. It's my uncle's birthday today. He's got to be probably about 70, and he is using the suffix ball. I don't know. He's happy to get the ball to the edge of the opposition penalty area and then pass back to the goalkeeper, apart from the stupidity of sporting directors who haven't bought a striker. When we have possession, we don't know what to do with it. This is my uncle's. This is my uncle's analysis of his watching
Very
Chelsea
good.
every week.
Well, I guess whether you like Maresca Ball or not, I mean, he has a very distinct way of playing, doesn't he, Chelsea at the moment? And probably if they had a striker, if they'd bought one of the free ones, Osimhen or whoever, they would be even higher up the table. As it is, they may still qualify for the Champions League. United certainly won't. So, Darnish, what did you like about United's attacking performance? This was a game in which they scored 3 goals after scoring 4 the game before. So, is something clicking, or is it just that they're bad?
I think they're playing the worst sides.
Bad teams are playing.
And I think Bruno Fernandes is just in such a rich vein of form. There was a little minute, like I think in the 12th or 13th minute, he got the ball in his own half from the air, neatly took it down, and then passed it wide. I was like, where the hell has this Fernandes been? Like, normally he'd maybe just get it and go long, but it's clear that this is probably one of the best versions I've seen of him. And it's not the hero ball version either.
So I don't think this is just form. And I think if you look at some of the players in the team, some of the more intelligent players in the team, like Mazraoui and maybe even De Ligt I'd put into that category, they're learning not new positions, but sort of new positions and different requirements from a different manager. And it seems to me that they're listening to what they're being told. I mean, I don't think any United manager who's had Bruno before Amorim would have the bollocks or would necessarily even realised to be able to go and say he doesn't trust these other dickheads. And that's why you see him charging about with the hero ball Darnish was just talking about. But Amorim is saying to him, no, this is now going to be your position. Even though it's not really your position, you're going to play here. And this is what here is required of you. And it seems to me like Bruno's listening. And similarly, Mazraoui, who we thought was crap at wing back initially, and much better at centre back. Like I was a wide centre back. He might still be better at wide centre back, but we're seeing him quite effective from wing back the last few games. And I think it was also, as we've said, like fair to say that the opposition have been disgraceful. But even against Arsenal, who are not disgraceful, we saw some of this. And even against Arsenal, who are not able to dominate physically in the way we did Sociedad, we're seeing slightly better patterns of play. But I think we're seeing Bruno play with greater discipline. And I think we're seeing De Ligt, and we'll come to De Ligt afterwards. I also think we're probably getting more out of De Ligt. He looks better when Maguire's not there as well, I think.
Let's stick on Bruno for the moment, because I guess one of the concerns with moving him deeper is that he would be less productive, right? Create less chances, fewer assists, fewer goals.
No.
That doesn't seem to have happened. How come he's able to get into those? Has he got more freedom because he's coming with those late runs like he did for the 3rd goal yesterday? How come we've not lost the output? And yet he also seems to be kind of fairly tactically disciplined in the number 8 role, which is what you guys have been talking about.
16 goals and 15 assists this season. I think it's his best return since the Solskjaer season, where he was insane. He was literally a game breaker that season. Every single game he was the match winner. I think from deep, the threat is still there, because yesterday the goal from Højlund was kind of old school. I could picture Marcus Rashford being on the end of what Højlund was on the end of. I think his set pieces have really improved, so that's partly why his assists and goals are still there. He scored 2 free kicks in the last 4 against Everton and against Arsenal, and then some of the, I think 2 or 3, and then 3 of the other assists were against Ipswich. So the free kicks, the delivery's been miles better. His late runs are better. I'm still a little bit concerned sometimes with the fact that he's the only one that can spray a pass from deep through to one of the attackers, and then he's not the one to support up there. But maybe his 3rd goal yesterday is an inclination of what we can see more of. We can see more of those late sort of Lampard runs.
Yeah, and
on which point,
can I assist wasn't completely rubbish. Go on.
Can I add to that point? I also think that what's letting Bruno time those arrivals is we're getting better at sustaining attacks and retaining possession higher up the field. And we saw Xerxes did that really well against Sociedad. And I think now that Højlund, it felt like that Sociedad game. Incidentally, did anyone hear how Amorim said Sociedad? Like, it was almost like the first time he said it in the interview the other day, I thought, what the hell did you just say? So I'm like, how's Sociedad? Something like this. Anyway, we're getting better at keeping possession higher up the pitch. Dorgu's helping a lot with that. But even yesterday, just Højlund playing with a bit more confidence is improving. I think is improving us. And the run that he made for the goal that he scored is the kind of run that he should always be making. And the reason why he hasn't been getting so much service is because he hasn't been making enough. One of the reasons, anyway, is because he hasn't been making enough of those runs. And it really felt that was a penny. Like, there's a penny that's dropped with him. That he's another one who's been told what to do, and he's listened, and he's doing it, I think.
Yeah, he took 3 shots in the first half yesterday.
Come on.
He's averaging 1 per game this season, so it's quite a uplift for him.
It's been
from a very low base.
I think there's been a degree in the last 7 games they've only lost 1 in the league. I know that doesn't, a few of them were draws, but Brighton are 5th now with the most draws in the league, level with Arsenal. So it's more about being solid in the league rather than winning a lot, unless you're Liverpool, of course. But in the last, I think, 7 or 8 games, what we've seen is a little bit more of resilience, I think. The tactics are still, honestly, need to be worked on because the build-up is still scaring me quite a bit. I still hate the fact that all the fullbacks just literally go long whenever they're pressed, but we've just seen more resilience. Against Arsenal, the game plan was different and they worked on it well. Against Everton, I thought we were dead and buried for 60 minutes, but the last 20 minutes they woke up again. All of this, it still matters because there's still 9 games left at the end of the season. Keep building the resilience, keep building the confidence, and start to learn the patterns more. Amorim's learning more with them as well at the same time. He said it in midweek.
It is true that 5 of our 10 wins have come against
half of them,
sides, right?
Half of them.
Like half of our success this season has been playing the absolute dross. So we can't get too excited just yet. You talked about resilience. Part of that's in the defensive area where Matthijs de Ligt again did what he's best at yesterday, which is the box defending. One stupendously good block where he covered, saved an almost certain goal.
He does the Vidic stuff well.
The tackling, the heading. He does. Yeah, the passing still mediocre, isn't it? But with if that's de Ligt, then the best of de Ligt, then that's pretty good. What did you make of him continuing at sort of right centre back and not in the centre with Lindelof in the centre, like missing headers as he likes to do?
Granted, we have to asterisk all of this and say there's an injury crisis going on. Maguire's injured. Lisandro Martinez is injured. Lenny Yoro, they're carefully managing his minutes because they don't want to make him injured again. And I would say that the best centre-back out of those 3, de Ligt, Heaven and Lindelof, overall, if we're talking for Amorim, for every centre-backs before he got injured, for me it's Heaven. I still don't like the fact that de Ligt is playing left or right centre-back. I think he should be in the middle, mainly because the middle centre-back, he receives the ball the least and he passes the least. It's not his biggest strength, let's be honest, it's not. So he shouldn't. Yeah. He should be in the centre back role in the centre. But I think needs must in terms of I think Collier ended up playing wing back for the second half, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
which is fine.
But it goes to show he doesn't have that many options right now. Harry Amos got some minutes yesterday as well, so I'm kind of fine with de Ligt being at left centre back for now. But I don't want it for the future. It should be the left centre back and the right centre back role is really important in this system because they need to drive forward 15 yards.
Yeah.
And they asked Amorim in a press conference, they said, Martinez is starting to doing that now. Is that what you want? And Amorim said, yes, that's absolutely what I want. Aydan Heaven did that for, I think, 10, 15 minutes against Leicester. And he did that really well. It's weird. It feels like some murder trial documentary where, as soon as a centre-back figures out, I need to progress the ball with 20 yards, I get injured. It's weird. No, but I couldn't find a better metaphor.
Fergie curse.
A curse, yes. A curse.
Yeah,
Fergie agreed. It's not even a curse. It's like Fergie agreed a Dorian Gray deal where someone came to him and said, I promise you, United will be good for as long as you can do the job. And then they'll be shit forever afterwards. Will you accept that? And he shook hands. I would have done the same. I accept that.
Well, to be fair, he did sell the club down the river for some horse spunk, so maybe that's true. Let him, he can do whatever he likes.
I was going to say, I agree on De Ligt in the middle. The one thing is that, and I don't know if Amorim will exactly want to replicate this, but when he was at Sporting, the central centre-back was an extra midfield player. So in theory, he did need to be able to play and pass. And a little bit more than 5-yard ones. You still would want them to be able to play through the lines. And that's not really what De Ligt can do. But then if you ever have a situation where you've got Heaven, Yoro and Martinez are all fit together, then you could also get away with Martinez in the middle if the other two either side are quick and good in the air. So then you actually start to have a little bit of competition for places. The concern now also, though, is that with Martinez and potentially Heaven long-term injured, you sort of have to buy someone.
Yes, well, we'll see on how long. I mean, obviously Martinez is out basically for the rest of the year. And they can't even sell him in the summer because he'll still be crocked. Heaven, we're unsure. He walked out of the stadium yesterday with a boot on, so it suggests it's at least not a broken leg, more like ankle ligaments or something like that.
Well, I don't think that's. So the circumstantial. I can't believe we're going to do this. The circumstantial evidence in the first instance, I would say, suggested that it was some kind of nasty break because they didn't show the replay, and that usually they would do for like an ACL or whatever. So then I'm thinking that looks like compound fracture, as in like there's some bone poking out somewhere and you don't want to show it. But
it can't have been.
It didn't look. The fact that he wasn't already in hospital, that is definitely a fucking good sign, I would say.
Yeah.
But that sort of suggests that it'd be more likely to be, and it's not. It didn't look like a knee job. It looked like an ankle job.
Ankle, yeah.
So I guess
let's talk about his performance a little bit, though, because I mean he's coming to the side. He had 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and a couple of starts now. And honestly, you wouldn't believe that he'd just been playing under 21s football this season because he just he's just slotted in and he looks ready made. And fair enough, it's Real Sociedad who sort of play with a forward, but not really. He's really a midfielder, isn't he? And then Leicester, who are playing a 39-year-old up front. So some caveats, but unbelievably composed for an 18-year-old with no experience at all.
Yeah, I don't think that his composure relates to the fact he's not going, well, I'm playing against dickheads here, so this is a piece of piss. It feels like much more composed. Like it's just the demeanour. And we know he's composed on the ball. It makes sense because he used to played midfield at youth level, played midfield a bit at Arsenal. And he's fast and powerful and tall. I mean, those things feel unarguable. Fine, it's easier to win a race with Jamie Vardy than it is with Kamaldeen Sulemana, to pluck a name out my arse at random. But we can see that all the physical attributes are there. The question really is defensive nous, which we'll only really see against a better team, and concentration, like when you're under it constantly. Can he be one of those guys that doesn't make mistakes, and can he defend really the best players? But other than that, it feels like everything else. We've seen enough to know that it's there.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out in the next couple of days how serious that injury is and whether he's going to miss a lot of time. But £1.5 million, incredible bargain. And I guess we were owed one after spunking stupid amounts on crap players for the last, decade or so. But look, if we don't have to buy another centre-back because we think this guy's ready, that's just a huge bonus, isn't it? And not having to go to Everton and say, here's 50, 60, 70 million.
Please don't do that.
Jared Branthwaite. Probably not needed. He's almost exactly the same.
Now. Yeah.
Like we have the profile.
We have Maguire, Martinez, De Ligt, Euro, and Heaven. Five defenders for
next season.
We all know it's going to happen. It's going to be inevitable. Somehow Lindelof's contract is going to be snuck beneath the door, and everyone's going to be like, "Wait, you're a player, yeah? All right, fine. Everyone's injured. Come in. Have 10 minutes."
Yeah, we'll renew Johnny Evans' contract for the 15th year in a row or whatever it's been. Yeah. All right. So Bruno's new role, defensive stuff, better going forward. What comes next? We've got the international break. A bunch of them are off. Funnily enough, Ronald Koeman, Dutch manager. Koeman's Dutch manager now? I forget. One of the Koemans, I think, was extremely rude about Josh Zirkzee. Said he wasn't playing very well. Yeah, and as he is, as he tends to do, this manager. Yeah. So Josh Zirkzee's not off. De Ligt is, although he spent half of yesterday hobbling around because he got studs to his shin. So and then a lot of the other players are off as well. So 2 weeks off and then back.
But quite a few of them, like Manu will be back after the break. Yoro should be back after the break. So actually, apart from that kind of defensive issue where we're struggling if Heaven is properly injured, then we're starting to have a situation, Mount's fit, where we've got some players and some alternatives.
Yeah, Mount's not heading off with England, so he'll get some time to get fit as well, or get injured, one of the two. It's Forest after the international break.
I know this is absolutely nothing. This is nothing to do with United whatsoever. I don't even fucking support England. But Jordan Henderson in that England squad, I genuinely, it made me angry. Almost nothing makes me angry. I felt genuinely angry when I discovered that was the case. How on earth can you judge? He wasn't even that good at his peak.
No. And now he's 35 and playing in Holland
in that squad.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if any of it matters because they're playing Latvia and Albania, but at the same time, I'm not.
I know, but I guess the question with Jordan Henderson, I don't want to waste too much oxygen on this guy, but are you taking him to the 2026 World Cup?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
No, right? No, it's going to be boiling hot. And he couldn't hack it in Saudi for 2 weeks or whatever it was. So yeah, it's madness. Anyway, back to United. Forest after the break. Forest away, who are a very specific style of team at the moment. Quite direct, vertical as the terminology is, right? Darnish? Very vertical, kind of classic, and very efficient with that verticality as well. Create chances from not a lot of possession a lot of the time, but kind of shows you what you can do with. I mean, they've spent some money, but they bought those 22 players and then got rid of them all. It shows you what you can do with
shows you what you can do with a bit of wood and some other attackers.
I don't want to know.
I make Chris wood, but it's an interesting narrative that we're at now because they're not going to get relegated. They're still in Europa, but we've got 9 tough games after the break. Now's the time to show us. Okay, we're gonna learn a lot about this team. I think those 9 games still matter because it's still a new manager learning about new players and they're learning new patterns. And so far, they're only beating teams that are in the Europa League or teams that are in the relegation scrap. So I want to see how they do against City. I want to see how they do against Forest. Yeah. I want to see how they do against Newcastle away because they'll be boiled by that win on Sunday. So it's not those games are still going to matter for the teams that play Man United. Henceforth, it's going to matter more to us as well because all these players they're trying to build momentum and build confidence because we're still in a Europa League quarterfinal. So we're going to learn a hell of a lot more after this team. After the international break. Now that the whole relegation murmurs are gone because. I can't lie. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but to even flirt with it, I felt disgusted.
It's disgusting. As you should, Darnish, as you should. Yeah, well, the factor of being 13th in the league, moved up a place, means that we are only playing one team, that's Wolves, away from home, that is below us in the table from now until the end of the season. And that's a factor of us being crap. But there's some tough games in here. Forest away, City at home, Newcastle away, Bournemouth away, Brentford away, Chelsea away, Villa at home. I mean, you wouldn't, in the current form, you wouldn't pick an awful lot of wins out of that. But they're going to need to find some form because Europa is what really matters.
But this is why I said it's. we're being positive because the results have been a lot better. We've lost 1 in 7 games, and I think that's big. The resilience matters. Now, please go ahead and show me some solutions to the patterns. Please, you've got 2 weeks. Work with some of the players that aren't going into the international break. Work with some of the players that are going to come back. Show better performances. I want to see better attacking patterns as well. 2 of the attackers have finally scored. Can we get some more goals out of them?
Yeah, and we've had Josh Xerxes'
become
form
Ronaldinho.
improve significantly. Obviously, didn't start yesterday, but yeah, maybe not. But what did you make of Garnacho before we leave today? I mean, he got himself a goal, nearly had another one. There's a fraction offside. Ball was played just a little late. It still doesn't look like he fits in this team, does he? But
he's a very interesting player because
the performances are almost there.
He's the only one of the attackers that we have right now that will run in behind, that will run against defenses because he's quick, right? There's no Rashford anymore. There's no Martial in this team anymore. So I think that's very important. He'll never give a crap about missing a shot, ever, right? Højlund, you could tell his confidence was shot in the last 10 games. Garnacho empties the clip and says, it didn't work. Give me another round. Give me another gun. He'll empty the clip again, and it just won't matter to him.
Yeah.
I still think he's a big danger for teams. I still think he's better as an impact sub than he is starting. I still think he's better on the right. I still think he's very young. So there's a lot of things to work with there. I think I'm just desperate for him to become this player that we know he can become if he just figures a few things out.
It's all about options, isn't it? That he might not be exactly, if the manager said this is the exact profile for that position, but that doesn't necessarily matter because you need options. If you're not winning a game or something, you need a goal or whatever it might be, to bring on a player who's an avatar of the one he replaced, probably not going to change that much. You're just going to be fresher. You bring on something slightly different, ask a slightly different question to the opposition. I think that is what you want. If you look at when Fergie had the 4 strikers when we won the treble, obviously, very quite different players. Or then even when it was later on, he didn't have the money to buy superstars because of the Glazers. By the end, he'd have just loads of centre forwards and wingers. He'd have Park, Ryan Giggs, Ashley Young, totally different players. Because if you spent an hour defending Ashley Young, well, you probably had quite a nice afternoon. And then you bring on Park, still having quite a nice afternoon, really. But just different kinds of players who'll try and do different things. And what I like about Garnacho, and particularly in this team, I agree with Darnish. I prefer him off the right as well. And partly that's just because his finishing isn't good enough. If you're trying to play him off the left, say you want him almost running on the diagonal towards goal, then the finishing's got to be better. Whereas if you're playing him on the right, it's more about stretching the opposition, creating opportunities for cutbacks. And we saw yesterday, we did we see a goal
Dallo cutback.
Dallo to Bruno,
we did, didn't we? Yeah. And we saw more cutbacks in general. And in order to get the cutbacks, if you've got someone with the pace to skirt around the outside, like Højlund also has it, then that will help you score goals in that particular way. And that always felt like one of the problems with Ten Hag, particularly with Højlund, that it felt like no one had really thought about, okay, I'm signing this guy. How's he going to score his goals? And I feel like Amorim has had that conversation with himself and with his coaches and with the players. And they know how they're trying to score goals now. And they've sort of gone from no idea how to do anything to now we can sort of see how they're trying to score goals. Now we're scoring goals against shit teams. Can we take the next step? And even against Arsenal, though we only scored once, we made chances. And it feels like we're seeing incremental improvements, but they feel sustainable because we can see what the pattern is, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. It does feel like we're edging towards what the end state is. And if you compare that to Ten Hag, I don't think we ever knew what the end state was because he didn't know either. And that's why he changed it. Like at least 3 different systems he played through his time. What a wonderful time it was as well. And I guess it helps as well that we can be patient because Ruben Amorim is popular and charismatic and talks well and fronts up about his challenges and seems to be fairly radically honest too much a lot of the time. And we like him, right? And, with Ten Hag, I think everyone was just sick of the guy by the end.
There's no affinity. Like, I didn't think, it was never obvious why anyone would be that bothered to do what he wanted them to do. Although, one thing I will say in Ten Hag's defence, we obviously ragged him for last summer's signings. They look a bit better now. Now that they're not being managed by him. They actually look a bit better.
Well, I don't think... Big Sir Jim said in the week that we signed those players because several of them were Dutch.
Yeah, that was
ouch. Very Brexit Jim.
But that's your fault, dickhead. You're meant to be there, someone with your guys saying no. That's how this shit's meant to work.
That's a really good point.
It is. But to come back to your original point, I think that they basically all worked out with limitations, right? So we know what De Ligt is good at and what he's not good at. Great box defender, not so good with passing. Ugarte, bit kind of similar, loads of interceptions, loads of tackles, loads of work rate, not very good on the ball. Mazraoui, incredibly intelligent player, not really very physical, right?
Can't get around much.
Oh,
15 minutes someone that can cover you in all these positions. That's a bargain.
Yeah. He is the modern day John O'Shea.
That's a bit of a disservice.
And we haven't tried him in goal yet, but that's coming.
Considering as well, I think he's played the last 4 games. He hasn't eaten in all 4 of those games.
Yeah.
So I've got a John O'Shea story. Anyone?
I love a cheesy story.
Yes, go on.
So one of my mates knew John O'Shea's bird and heard that John O'Shea had a big cock. He later was chatting to Ryan Giggs and said, "I've heard John O'Shea's got a big cock." Ryan Giggs went, "No." It was just like classically uncharitable.
This is going to sound bad, but like, so there. Why is that like these big clubs? Why do they still all shower together? No, but like,
well, they don't take a bath together now, but they do. Yeah.
Surely come up with cubicles.
I think they may have cubicles.
That'd just be odd. I don't know.
Yeah. You go on the Old Trafford tour, you'll be able to check out where they all bathe together and give each other the reach around or whatever's going on. All right. I think we have run out of tactical stuff to talk about. Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're never strategic. It's always in there. All right. Yes. Bruno Fernandes' new role, defensive stuff. Patterns in the build-up and John O'Shea's member. Top stuff. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darnish.
Catch you next time.